Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses as we continue with Part 10 of Fundamental Laws, a report of the 68th Convocation of the Rose+croix Order. Initiation. Initiation is not, as it is popularly conceived to be, a system of believing or a system of ritual. Ceremonial initiation is really no initiation in the generic sense of the word. Ceremonialism has its proper place. The inculcation of moral lessons and ethical principles helps men to a broader outlook of life and to formulate their ideals. But in and of itself, it has no power to make the candidate different than what he was before the ceremony. Ceremonial initiation is merely the outer symbol or the picture of the inner growth every individual must experience. It holds up to the candidate an ideal of life to strive for, if he would become better, healthier, happier, and attain mastership. It is a symbol to the candidate of an inner growth to be experienced by putting the true teaching into practice. Otherwise, ceremonial initiation is meaningless. Just as we employ in the kindergarten pictures with which to instruct the childish mind, so is ritualistic initiation necessary to picture in concrete form to the candidate abstract truth, which he is otherwise incapable of grasping. No matter how beautiful the system of morals may be, which is taught through ceremonial initiation, if the candidate does not put into practice the lessons he is taught, if he is not helped to understand them, if he is not shown how to apply them in his daily life by a system of living and training, and if thereby he does not experience an inner growth, he does not receive the inner meaning of the degrees. By no stretch of the imagination can you conceive of an individual becoming a master man through a ceremonial initiation. Yet thousands of intelligent men pay a fee to some fraternal organization with the idea of being raised to the plane of mastership in a few minutes and through a ceremony. And the fraternal organization that promises to give the candidate light and make of himself a master man and fails to do so is obtaining money under false pretenses. No one can bestow upon you any power, growth, or increase your status in your life by a mere ceremony. Can you conceive of an artist, a musician, or a successful businessman being made such through a ceremony? Real initiation is inner growth and development. It is the process of eternal becoming. It is the acquisition of intelligence and wisdom. From the cradle to the grave, man experiences growth and change physically, mentally, and spiritually. Physically, our bodies are continually undergoing change. Mentally, we do not think today as we thought yesterday, and spiritually, we are ever receiving more light. When man is consciously guided by his intuition and wisely directed by a system of teachings and training which accelerates his growth and unfoldment of his spiritual faculties, we have the true initiation, which the true Rose+croix fraternity offers its students. True initiation teaches the laws of health, development of mind, and the building of an illuminated Christ soul. In true initiation, the student earns growth and advancement only through effort and through living of a life in conformity with scientific principles tried and tested. And true mastership is earned through development of soul. The candidate becomes the master in fact and not in name only. In true initiation, higher selfhood is gained through self-development, while in ceremonial initiation, titles and degrees are conferred and bestowed upon candidates for so much pecuniary consideration and without any effort of self-mastery on the part of the candidate. How foolish and childish for men to think they can obtain advancement in the unfolding of their being without development and overcoming. No artist ever reached his goal without having worked for it. No man in any line of endeavor ever attained the topmost rung of the ladder of success except through work and self-mastery. Within every man are implanted latent faculties and potentialities for him to make use of and unfold. Just as the potential rose is in the plant, so is the master or Christ soul in the embryo in every man. Just as seed has the potential plant, so has man the potential master man. But whereas the seed has no free will to develop itself into the plant, but must wait to be put into the ground for germination, man, the highest in the kingdom of light, is endowed by his creator with free will and free choice, which enables him to unfold his potential Christ and rise him to a higher being, whenever man wills and chooses to do so. At birth, we are given our working tools, a body, a mind, and a seed, a divine spark from the Father, a potential Christ or soul. And we are given a span of years on this plane of life within which to employ our working tools for a purpose, and that purpose is to develop the germ soul into the Master or Christ soul and attain sonship with the Father. And when the candidate is helped by a systematic training to accomplish this purpose, we have true initiation. This is the meaning of life. We are not born to suffer and stagnate and die, but to live and grow and develop from plane to plane, ever higher and higher. The working tools, body, mind, and soul, are not given us so that we can make of them stinking temples and employ our minds to generate power for selfish purposes. True initiation has no other object in view than the solar development of the individual. Initiation is birth into new and higher understanding. It is the development of one's intuition, enabling the individual to grasp a larger measure of truth. Alas, how densely ignorant is mankind of intuition, that divine channel in man which is the connecting link between himself and his creator. We gain knowledge through the mind, but wisdom and divine direction is obtained through intuition. Initiation, or the introduction into higher truth, is by way of intuition. Truth is as infinite as God. Therefore, truth cannot be circumscribed within a narrow circle for the convenience of man. There is no limit to the wisdom of God, and there is no limit to our growth in understanding and the acquisition of wisdom unless we limit ourselves and refuse to grow. When a man denies that there are higher possibilities for him, by that very thought does he exclude himself from a higher life. When a man says he cannot do a certain task, even before he has tried, by that very thought he has sealed his failure. The great mass of mankind build around themselves a fence and refuse to venture out. How are they going to know what is beyond if they fear to do, to think, and to try? No one limits man but himself. Man is the individual point within the circle of his vision of truth. If his vision is narrow, his horizon of truth will be narrow. The more we unfold, the greater we increase the circumference of the circle of our vision and the greater expanse of truth we can come in contact with. The storehouse of God's wisdom is vast, and it is there for our use and for us to draw on. But if we have not developed our faculties, what have we by which we can draw on that storehouse? The savage and the musician both listen to the same divine melody, but how differently are they impressed, due to the difference in the development of the musical perception. As the connecting link between us and God's wisdom is intuition, it is our duty to develop our intuition, so that we can absorb more truth and wisdom. The unfoldment of our intuition is initiation. True initiation is the evolution of the solar side of man. A man may have physical perfection, he may acquire mental acumen, and his mind may become a storehouse of facts, and yet be far from truth and spiritual understanding and from mastership. Many men reach a high plane of mentality, and yet are evil at heart. Where is their wisdom? Physical culture is good. It brings health and physical well-being. But physical culture alone cannot bring us spiritual understanding, nor does it teach us how to build an immortal soul. Mental culture enables us to become acquainted with the physical sciences and mental laws which are useful to man. But mental culture cannot develop intuition. The greatest progress the human race has made and is making is on their spiritual side, which concerns itself with internal growth. Man evolves from darkness and ignorance into light and truth through the development of his soul, and this is true evolution and initiation. The greatest progress of the human race is not done in the physical laboratory, but in the laboratory of the human heart. In the heart, base passions are changed into pure gold of love, when transmuting evil tendencies, refines his nature and develops goodness and godness. He is fulfilling his mission in life and treading the path of evolution. When man can advance from hating his enemies into loving them, he has made the highest progress he is capable of. We can measure the reactions that take place in the test tube, but who can measure the wonderful reactions that take place in the laboratory of the human heart? What difference is there between the uncivilized and civilized man? Is it a physical difference? A matter of flesh and bones? Is it a mental difference? The ignorant man can be taught a great deal of the mental culture of today. Is it not rather a difference of the spiritual makeup? The savage cannot grasp abstract truth such as virtue and forgiveness. This understanding of the abstract dealing with morality is not a mental process. Were it so, then the criminal would not be a criminal. The criminal class are mentally capable, but spiritually they are dark. The difference between the race of today and that of the Roman Empire is not due so much to mental culture, but in a change of heart, which is the spiritual side of man. We can no longer sit in an arena and derive pleasure and entertainment from watching wild beasts mangle human beings. What is true of the race is also true of the individual. True initiation aims at a change of heart in the individual. True initiation is through regeneration and purification. Regeneration is rebirth or birth into a new life. To become regenerated is to become born again, not only in mind, but in body as well. It is possible to create a new body, younger and healthier. Purification is freedom from grossness, from impurities, and from base and vile habits. Purification is not only of the body, but of the mind and heart as well. The ideal man, the one who has developed the Christ soul, is he who is of pure heart and healthy body, of sound and powerful will, and of loving heart that throbs for humanity. A master man is as wise as a serpent and innocent or pure as a babe. Initiation is life. Life is a school. Life is an opportunity, and every moment of our life is a change, a variation of opportunity. This we must become conscious of. If we let our opportunities go, we are the losers, and we go down the scale of life by some degrees. Every man who is born to this world, whether he knows it or not, treads the initiatory path of evolution. The difference between the average man and the man who takes up the path of inner initiation or soul development as taught by the great and true Rose+croix fraternity is that, whereas the average man goes through life blindly, not knowing what he is aiming for, nor whether he is drifting to, and permits his divine possibilities and potentialities to remain dormant and undeveloped. The student or soul science is constantly conscious of an ideal before him, towards which he concentrates every ounce of his strength and every minute of his life, and is scientifically directing his energies towards the development of his latent potentialities. The student is hastening his freedom from karmic conditions and from slavery to bound destiny, and is working towards soul illumination or Christhood. The first is like a piece of driftwood in the grip of the rushing current, helpless to direct its own course, while the latter is like the able swimmer who breasts life's currents and is able to direct his course whether he wills against the tide and wind. Which do you desire to be, driftwood or a masterful swimmer? Life is not only an opportunity, but a gift. It is not a curse and a misfortune as some believe. If you believe in a loving God, would he curse you by giving you life? If God is love, then out of love for man has he given him life. Then life is a blessing. This life of ours is one grand opportunity given us to unfold, to grow, to gain experience, and through experience, wisdom. It is school on a great scale, and every experience we encounter furnishes us with a problem to solve, and solve we must. For Nature, unlike a latent and forgiving teacher, and expects from us an accounting and a correct solution to her problems, then why run away from the problems of life when you know you cannot escape them? Initiation is by way of the crucifixion of the Son of Man. That is, the earthly man with his false appetites, his prejudices and vices, his sensuous loving desires, and the craving of the flesh to be indulged in appetites that degrade and pull down, must be hung upon the cross. Man has indulged his body so long, not with what he desires, but with what it desires, that he has become a slave to its desires. And the average man's mind is like a runaway horse. He has no control over his thoughts. The thoughts control him, and they are for the most part destructive in character. Just as long as a drug fiend feeds his body with drugs, the appetites are satisfied. But let him deprive these appetites of their stimulants, when they will fight for their very lives. And in like manner, as long as the individual sees no necessity of depriving the appetites of his body and mind and keeps indulging them, he is unmindful of the slave that he is. But as soon as he begins to assert his mastery by depriving these appetites of their desires, then he faces a battle which requires strong resolution and indomitable will to gain mastery. As long as the individual has no desire to reach perfection and gives in to his body and mind, there is no struggle. But when he begins to nail upon the cross the unnecessary and the useless things, then does he find out what a slave he is. This is not a struggle for a day. It is a matter of time, of patience, of perseverance, and of continual trying. But each time he gains strength, and the appetites lose their power. Progress on the path of initiation is by way of sacrifice, but do not think it is necessary for you to sacrifice anything that is worthy and good. What is required is that you give up the things that are unnecessary, the things that are so much dead weight, just as we expect the growing child to give up its toys as it reaches the adult stage. So do we expect that the man who desires progress on the path of initiation to give up the childish and unimportant things, when man has lived a life of delusion, when from infancy he has been taught to regard the impractical as practical and the practical as impractical. The things that are not necessary seem essential. Initiation is the great climb up the steep and rugged ascent to God. It is a rough and rugged journey. To make progress, one must divest himself of all unnecessary impediments. The higher you climb this path, the more one must free oneself of unnecessary luggage, otherwise they weigh the candidate down and prevent his ascent. And on this steep ascent, to make headway, the candidate must overcome beasts that are stationed along the journey and that fight his progress. For instance, you will have to overcome the beast of pride. Pride stands in the way of obtaining wisdom. It makes you climb to things that are not necessary to your growth. It blocks your path and would keep you down in ignorance. It is not easy matter to kill the beast. You will have a long struggle with it, but you will have to overcome and utterly destroy it if you desire to ascend the path to wisdom and God. After all, pride is not necessary to your welfare. If it then becomes essential that you part company with pride, will you love it so much as to prefer its ignorant association to making progress on the path? Then you must meet the beast of laziness to the death with this beast. It would have you temporize and procrastinate. It whispers into your ears soothing words, lulling you to sleep. It would make you believe that there is no hurry to climb life's path and there is plenty of time, that somehow or other you will advance without putting forth effort. This is a hard beast to overcome. He is subtle in his arguments. You are offered a life of ease and indulgence. Laziness would convince you that no climbing is necessary to advance on the path of God, and that nature will take care of you. Mental laziness is the strongest beast that rules humanity. The people will not think, but let others do the thinking for them. Do not listen to the seductive pleadings of this beast. Realize that growth and progress is to be had only at the expense of effort and work and systematic training. Nothing that is born or produced is born of laziness, but of struggle and effort. A muscle is developed through exercise. A voice is developed through hard work. If no effort was required for our evolvement and spiritual unfoldment, and if all were equally created in the image of God, then at present every individual of the race should be on the same plane of development. We should be alike, think alike, feel alike. If nature takes care of us and evolves us, whether we want to or not, then nature would have taken care of us all alike, and we would be now on equal footing. But the fact of the matter is that no two individuals are alike, and every one is on a different plane of evolvement, because everyone puts forth different effort. Some are further on the path of evolution than others, not because nature has been partial to them. Effort and practice and self-mastery is the keynote to growth and progress. To make headway in spiritual unfoldment is to make effort now, wisely and systematically. We will not enumerate the many beasts the traveler on the path of initiation must overcome to reach the summit, which is mastership or Christhood. But the effort is worthwhile. Power and wisdom is gained only through experience in overcoming. Understanding of divine law is gained through application and practice in our daily lives. True initiation is conservation of our bodily and mentally forces, and concentrating them for building character, manhood, soul, and attaining mastership of Christhood. Ordinary living leads to diffusion of our forces, stagnation, and death, while true initiation is concentration and leads to power and immortality of life. Soul building recognizes that man is a triune being, body, mind, and soul, in order to obtain the most efficient results. Each department of man's being must be given equal attention through coordinating and harmonizing the training so that one-sided development may be avoided. The aim of initiation is perfection, and to attain perfection, man must begin with his foundation or body. For upon the strength of the body rests the strength of the nervous system and the power of the mind, and a powerful mind is required to build the Christ soul. Just as in plant life, we have at one end the earth, and at the other end the product of creating, the beautiful rose. So in man, the foundation is a strong and healthy body, and the product of our living, creating and developing, is a beautiful soul. As in the plant, the essences of the earth go for the production of the rose, so in man, the strength of our body should go in building soul. If the plant has parasites living off it, the essentials of the earth go to feeding the parasites and never build the rose. And in man, if he is a slave to his parasites, the beasts that are in him, the essences of his body are wasted in feeding the appetites of the beast, and there is no energy left with which to build the soul. It is possible through a systematic training of the body, mind, and soul to accomplish in one life what it would take thousands of lives to do. We can, if we will, by concentration of our efforts on one ideal, hasten our development from a plain, ordinary, unregenerative mortal to a sinless master man, or Christ soul. This is what all the great masters, prophets, messiahs, and Christ have taught, and it is taught today by the true Rose+croix fraternity. True initiation is an inner growth and unfoldment of one's spiritual faculties, leading to illumination and immortality of soul, while external or ceremonial initiation is pure ritualism and merely symbolic of the inner initiation or growth. We declare that the initiation, as practiced by most fraternities, societies, or orders of today, is external initiation only and is purely ceremonialism and ritualism. These bodies have long lost the true word, or the true logos, or science of teaching the candidate inner development leading to illumination and immortality of soul. In pantomime, They conduct the candidate through a ceremony, but they do not know how to teach the divine science which enables the student through years of training to develop himself into a master soul. Most of these bodies, fraternities, and societies, so-called mystic and occult, can offer their candidates only ritualism and external initiation, while the true Rose-Croix fraternity insists now, as it has always in the past, that the seeker after truth, first of all, pass through the inner initiation or growth before the ceremonial part shall be conferred upon him. The true Rose-Croix fraternity is first of all a school of spirituality, but it is also an order in that it has a ritual and a ceremonial initiation. However, it is not a degree peddled in institution. It does not make money for its instruction, nor does it accept money for conferring of the ceremonial work. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment, and please consider donating to Wars of the Rosies. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.